Hey, what's up everybody? Goats here. I hope y'all are feeling refreshed, renewed. It's a new day, early morning for me. Yesterday I got the supercharger installed, I got the performance calibration unit wired in from Underdog Racing. I am able to get the vehicle to crank, but I've got a few vacuum issues. I don't have some caps. I need like some high heat silicone caps to fix some vacuum issues to get the vehicle running correctly. But today I'm going to be putting in a new fuel pump, and that should help with the upgraded injector. So I've got to drop the gas tank to do that, and I know I've got to remove some connectors. I've never done this before, so I got some instructions here with me from Underdog Racing, and I'll use these to guide me along the way. So we're just going to take it step by step. It doesn't seem like it's that hard, just kind of labor intensive. Dropping the gas tank might be a little annoying. Disconnecting some lines is a little nerve-wracking, but otherwise I'm not too worried about it. I think I have all the tools to do the job. So that's what we're gonna do today. Put the new fuel pump in, and I would love to get some vacuum hose caps for the supercharger and get this vehicle running nice and good with a supercharger. I can't wait to do some 0 to 60 videos and show you guys some before and afters of what the engine was like stock and then what it's like with the supercharger. So once I get all this complete, that's what I'll be filming next. All right guys, let's jump into dropping the gas tank and replacing the fuel pump. First thing the instructions say is to lift up the rear seat, pull the carpet back. I hope I can do this with the new carpet. It's so thick. There we go. That removes. Let's see if I can pull this back. Oh, see, some of this might be down under these brackets. Oh no. Oh no. It's not really supposed to be, but I kind of bolted it that way because it was the way I cut it. Yep, I'm gonna have to get something to maybe pry this up. It's pretty stuck. All right, well, I had to take a 12mm socket and loosen this nut right here because the carpet was wedged up underneath there. Now let's see if we can wedge it out from these panels. So I've got to remove this. I need to get a Phillips head. It's got 3 Phillips heads on it. I'm gonna take this off and disconnect these wires up here, and then there's another wire that's running across the top of the gas tank that they say has to be, it's taped, and you have to remove the tape with a razor or something. So I'm gonna get this thing removed. All right, looks like these are the 2 plugs that I've got to remove, and the instructions say to have the vehicle running when you do this, so it'll depressurize the system. So I'm gonna crank this 4Runner up, and then I'll unplug these because it says it should depressurize the system and the engine will stall. And I think that'll help me in dropping the tank. So I've got a piece of tape up here on the 4Runner supercharger because that's where the vacuum issue is. I need a rubber cap, and I had to tape this one too on the intake. I need some rubber caps. It should crank, so I'm gonna crank it and let it idle, and then I will unplug those plugs, and hopefully that'll depressurize the system and make it easier on me. All right, well, with the engine running, it says disconnect these. I'm gonna try this pick tool here, see if that works. Well, nope, I'm still not having much luck. It's like it's kind of moving, but this thing still doesn't want to pop out. Well, I just broke that. That sucks. Well, could not get that clip to remove. I mean, yeah, I was supposed to press where I was pressing, but it did not want to come out. There, the engine just stalled. I'm gonna turn the key off real quick. There's just so much mud and like gunk in here. Okay, that one came free. Wow. Yeah, these are just so muddy that they were extremely difficult to remove. I have to go ahead and pop this through if I can. That clip's probably gonna break as well. Trying to push it out. Let's see here. There we go. There's a third wire that runs across the top of the tank, so maybe it's this guy. Yeah, because I see, so we've got these two connectors and it runs across, and you're supposed to undo that. These connectors are removed, and looks like I was wrong. It says the other taped connector is inside the vehicle. So I believe it's referring to this. You can see that this is just taped to the wiring loom, but it still is not gonna give it that much room to move. Actually, yeah, maybe it will. Maybe it will. Okay, so I believe this is what you have to remove. You're gonna cut this electrical tape. This bracket just slid out. It was bolted, not bolted, clipped right here. Just pop it out with these two clips here. Just try not to break them like I did the other one. So let's do that to give this tank some slack. Okay, now it's making more sense to me. So this one right here, the one that I broke, will stay inside the vehicle. It was just threaded through, like they were connected through this little rubber grommet. So once I pulled that out, this one will stay in the vehicle like so, and then the rest of the stuff is free. So now the tank should be able to drop freely. All right, I believe that's it for the inside of the vehicle. Now I've got to go remove the gas tank skid plate and then remove bolts for the gas tank. All right, I'm up under the vehicle now. First thing I got to do is remove this gas tank skid plate. So there's some 13mm bolts here. This one on my truck is actually standard because I had to tap this. This was rusted out and the nut sheared off. So if you've watched my gas tank skid plate video, you know that I had to tap this, and that is a standard. And then you see this hanger back here where my finger is, that goes up to another standard bolt because that one also sheared off. And that's a 13mm as well. So I've got to remove all these. And if you're asking why I use standard instead of metric, it's because my tap set is only standard. So that's why I'm using standard. All right, with the skid plate removed, it looks like there's just this belt strap in the rear. It's just held in by a pin with a clip. And it looks like there's another bolt up here, which is pretty rusted. I've already sprayed some WD-40 on it. But unfortunately, I sheared off the bolt that I tapped because I did not coat it with anything, and then it just went back into the frame, and then I believe it rusted into the frame again. So yeah, now I have to deal with that. Hopefully that's not too much of a pain in the ass to get rid of. And then I haven't even looked at this side down here to see. I think it's just the same belt on both sides. So I'm going to try and work on this nut and then remove the belt. Next, the instructions talk about 3 lines that you have to remove from the fuel tank before lowering it, and I believe these are the 3 right here. Hopefully you can see that. So I've got to get my pliers up in there. I'm gonna get some gloves on in case there's any gas spillage. And then it looks like there is, this looks electrical. The instructions don't say anything about that, but I can't really see how to remove it. So I'm gonna try and mark these lines. First I gotta clean them because they're so muddy. I'm gonna clean them, and then I gotta mark the hoses and the lines just to make sure that I put this all back together correctly, and then figure out how to get this electrical off. I have these haphazardly labeled 1, 2, and 3, and then up on the support there I have 1, 2, and 3. Trying to get a good angle. I don't have a light with me, so sorry about that, but they're labeled. All right, guys, I've been struggling for about an hour now, but I've got this inlet removed. You just use a Phillips head to loosen the bracket right here, or this hose clamp rather, and then wiggle it. It'll snap loose eventually. Then the same thing for these 3 hoses. You have to compress these clips, slide them down away from the metal fittings here, and then I had to twist the hoses until they kind of snapped loose, and then they would slide off. It took me a while to get them to come loose just because there's not a lot of room to work in here. And I've labeled all of those so I know which fitting they go to. And then this electrical here, I don't know how to remove. So that's where I'm at. I'm kind of stuck on that. Then let's see, if we move up here to the front, there was a hose connected. This guy here, remove that, and then this line I removed at the fuel filter. You can see there, because I'm replacing the fuel filter anyways, but I think this red thing is a quick disconnect, but it's plastic, and I didn't really understand how to get it to disconnect. I pulled on it a little bit. It kind of wanted to move, but I figure better safe than sorry with a fuel line, so I just went ahead and removed the line at the fuel filter. So everything is disconnected that needs to be disconnected other than this electrical back here. So it's a little more involved than the instructions call for. They say only 3 lines, but really it's more like 6 lines if you include the fuel inlet. So that's where we're at, guys. I'm gonna try and figure out how to get this electrical off. Once I figure that out, I'll let you know. Well, I decided to say fuck it on that electrical plug, or whatever that shit is pissing me off. I have no idea what it is, but I was able to just drop the front side of the tank, kind of pull back here so you can kind of see, and there's slack on the electrical and there's slack on that plastic tubing, whatever that is, and then that gives me access to the fuel pump right here. So as long as you have all these other hoses removed, you should be able to lower the fuel tank like I have it, and then you can get access to your fuel pump. So I'm gonna try and get this done. I've been at this for way longer than I expected. I've got multiple like rusted bolts and a bunch of bullshit under here to deal with, but I'm hoping that the fuel pump comes off without any hitches. First, I'm gonna try and clean up down here. I'm gonna take the air compressor and spray so I don't get any bunch of dirt inside my fuel tank, because this 4Runner has been mudding a few times, so it's got some dirt up here. So I'm gonna remove these bolts next. Fuel pump assembly's out. That took some elbow grease to get that thing going, but here's the fuel pump here, so that's what we'll be pulling off. And then I'll be reattaching the new fuel pump, which is back here. The Dashworks DW, I guess that's how you say it, Dashworks, probably Dashworks DW. What did I get here? The DW 100 in-tank pump. It's bigger than the stock. Let's see, I'll set them side by side so you can kind of see. So yeah, let's figure out what we got to do here. I guess I need to refer to my instructions. I'm pretty sure I have to trim this guy right here. So I've got this little micro pipe cutter because I think this is too long. So let's figure out how to take this thing off. So the instructions just say to undo the hose and unplug the connector, and you should be able to wiggle the fuel pump out. Fuel pump's out. This has a different connector, so you've got to cut some wires to look in the box here, and there's some wire connectors, and then here's the some new hardware here. So I'm gonna, well, I thought I was gonna swap this fuel filter, but I guess I'll run this new filter. Correction, the new fuel pump comes with its own little clips. You don't have to remove the other one. I should have looked at the contents of the package before getting into that, so you just leave this as is. I am gonna have to adjust this connector here, and it's labeled positive and negative on the old one, so you just got to pay attention to that when you splice in these new wires for the this new connector here. I think I'm gonna do that next. So it looks like they give you a new seat and a new hose, so I need to try and line this up and see how much of the actual tubing I have to remove. Looks to be about 1/4 inch there. It's gonna have to come off, and got the little miniature pipe cutter to handle that, so I'm gonna go ahead and pull that off. That way I can get this thing installed. Now that I've got the fuel pump clearance set, so I just cut this pipe. See, there's just a little nipple there. It's maybe about 1/4 inch long, maybe a little bit longer. Now I'm going to wire in the new connector. So on the DW pump, red is positive. On the Toyota pump, blue is positive. So I'm just gonna splice this in using their supplied connectors, and then that way I can plug it up into the stock harness. Got my connection secured. I went ahead and soldered it and then used some shrink wrapping. I think that'll hold better than using these little where are they at, little butt connectors. So that's the route I'm going, and I think we're about ready to put this thing back together. Now that the connectors are secured, I'm just going to attach the hose, and that's it. Then we'll put it back in the vehicle and crank it up and pray that we don't have any fuel leaks. Yeah. It's in. Don't be like me. I made several mistakes. I actually soldered the wrong connector. This is the one that goes into the fuel pump. You have to solder this gray side on a 2002 4Runner. So, and I knew that going into it, but I just wasn't paying attention when I started soldering. So, and then I forgot to put this on. So I had to slide this hose on and off multiple times. So that's not good. It's kind of slowing myself down just by not paying attention. So take your time and just do it right the first time. Everything in life is much easier if you just take your time and get it done correctly and don't rush yourself. I think I'm just getting a little frustrated because I've been working on this for so long and I thought it would be easier, but we're on the home stretch now. So the new fuel pump is in and I've got the connection soldered. Everything is connected. This connector is all the way down. The fuel pump feels nice and secure in there. These hose clamps are really tight. And this guy's connected up here, so that's it. The last thing to do is bolt this thing back down into the 4Runner. And let's see what they say about torque spec. 30 inch-pounds. These little Phillips heads go to 30 inch-pounds. So now that I've got that in, I'm gonna bolt this thing back down and then raise the fuel tank. Gas tank's back in. Next I want to tackle this fuel filter. Go ahead and get that done while I'm in here, since I'd already removed this line to drop the gas tank. I'm just going to remove the line towards the front of the vehicle using a I can't remember what you call this type of wrench, but flare nut wrench, that's what it is. Use one of those and an adjustable to undo these fuel lines, and then I'm going to throw in a new fuel filter. I believe that's the flare nuts are 14 millimeter, and then I think the nut on the fuel filter is like a 19, but I'm not sure. I'm just using an adjustable. Well, the fuel filter's out and doesn't look too bad. The fuel in there was a little brown, so maybe time to replace it. I don't know if it's ever been done. Actually, yeah, it says Napa, so this is a replacement. Somebody's done it at some point. I see people complain about this nut right here because it is on the, so when it's oriented on the vehicle, it's up like this and there's not a lot of room to access it. I found that it was easier just to remove the two 10 millimeter nuts on the bracket, pull the entire bracket, then undo this bolt here so you can slide the fuel filter out. So that method seemed to work for me. And then what I'm going to do is use the markings on the old fuel filter to line up the new fuel filter and bolt it down before I even deal with this bracket again. So I'll get it secured where it looks about the same as how the other one was, and then put it back up in the vehicle. Fuel filter's in. What I've chosen to do here is just finger tighten everything. So I've got the bracket itself is not attached, but the fuel filter is fastened to the bracket. Just use the old bracket to line it up. And then with all the wiggle room in play, I use that to my advantage to get both of the threads started on the fuel line. So both of these are finger tight and they're threading on. So we're going to use that as our starting point. And I think next I'm just going to go ahead and bolt in the bracket so it holds the filter nice and tightly, and then I'll go ahead and fasten these fuel lines. And there you have it, all nice and tightened down. The next thing I'll do is crank this vehicle up and see if there's any seepage down here. I think you're supposed to crank it and let it run, and then you torque these until they stop leaking, and then that's considered the torque spec. So that's what I'm going to do. Everything is snugged up down here, looks good. Just got to run some fuel through the lines and test it out. The gas tank is in, currently just secured by this one bolt here, and the strap in the rear, it won't be fully secured until I put the gas tank skid plate in. But I've got all my hoses reattached. I've got to go up back to the top of the vehicle and reattach my electrical plugs, and then that will be it. Got everything reattached, ran all the lines correctly through this grommet. Just got to reattach this plastic piece, put this guy back on. But that's gonna do it for this video. I'm just gonna tinker with this thing, see if I can get it running correctly, make sure there's no fuel leaks, since we did do a fuel pump today. Been messing with the gas tank a lot, did the new fuel filter, so those lines, they may have some seepage, but I'm gonna tighten those up once I get the vehicle running here. I really appreciate y'all watching today. I hope you found this video helpful. I hope everybody's doing well out there. Please stay healthy. Get out there, get some sunlight, it's really good for you. If you like the video, tap that thumbs up button. If you want to subscribe to the channel, that'd be great too. I'm going to keep working on this 4Runner and other Toyota projects like my Tundra, Land Cruiser. Got a couple other 4Runners that I'm working on as well. So a lot of stuff in the pipeline, but hope everybody's doing well out there. I'll catch y'all on the next one. See ya.